This is episode number 5 for videos where we test battery's capacity according to standards, and we have this time absolutely new. You can still see the factory sealing Optima AGM battery, and we need to prepare this charger for this battery, and we are going to advanced settings, and I will select so custom advanced settings preset AGM spiral cell, and in the expert mode I prefer to change the default, which was 1 day, of the bulk time limit to 15 hours. All other things are default. Here I show you in case if you want to know what they are. Here, for example, for the adaptive absorption and fixed absorption, some things mentioned. So we keep it as provided by the default. We don't change anything else. So the charger is prepared. Let's go. So we set it for the charging. Unfortunately, I forgot to check the voltage from the factory, and it is already in the absorption charge. It was briefly in the bulk charge, so we can see the voltage on the terminal. And we are not very interested about the charging process. We are mostly interested about the discharging the battery to test this capacity, which is mentioned as C5 capacity. So 50 divided by 5, we will get 10 amperes current. We will use 10 amperes current. Why? What is C5? What is C20? Why we calculate this way? The episode number 1 about the standards cover these things. You have to see them if you don't know about these things. We will be discharging and waiting for 10.5 volts again. Why? The episode number 1. How we will be monitoring? We will use this rig that I made with the shunt through the software of the shunt inside here. We will synchronize when it's fully charged. The episode number 2 covers this rig. So we are waiting for the charging now. Well, the charging has finished. We can see the solid green here. We can check how many amperes hours we provided for the factory sealed battery. Okay, not much, so 33 minutes. It was the minimum circle of the charging procedure. Absorption 30 minutes, the minimum one. Yeah, and then float. So it was pretty charged. And now we are going to configure the shunt. And because we are going to test with C5 method, means the 10 amps current. I will use 50 amperes hours capacity of the battery. And by the way, the 10 amperes current, it's more or less the one that I'm going to use in the board when I power the radio, the fridge, and probably some other electronics. So it is what I needed, and that is recommendation for you when you want to set this shunt. You need to set it according to your use case, not just take the capacity, any capacity, for example 55. That means C20 20 hours, and 55 divided by 20. Okay guys, please help me, but it's less than 3 amperes, and probably it's not your current, so you don't want to set 55 here. So you set 50 here, and discharge flow I will set 60 this time. For specific reason I'm not going to cover them here. And then I will synchronize and we start the discharging. No, we don't start discharging yet. We have to wait about 1 day after the charging procedure before we start the discharging. And by the way, I decided to change my settings. I decided to set 60% the alarm for low state of the charge and 50% the discharge floor. So because we want to base our monitoring here about remaining time based on the discharge floor, and we want to get the notifications earlier. So we are waiting for the next day, and then we will start the discharging using electronic load and 10 amperes current. Almost 11 next day, we will start about 11. We see 13.10 on the shunt, 13.14 on the terminals, so about the same here. And I set the current for 10 amperes. I will click on and we will start discharging. So we are discharging at constant 10 amperes current. That is the power. We are within the limit of this electronic load, 200 watts. So we see this on the terminals of the battery, and the shunt sees this one value, and it shows remaining time, that one. So we started almost at 11. That time till 50% of discharge, as we said in the discharging floor. In real life, we don't want to discharge more than 50%, but we are in this test expecting this value, 10.5, to see if we really have 50 amperes hours in this battery. Why? What is C5? Why this value? About this electronic load, about this rig, all in previous episodes. See there. So we are interested when we get 50%, and then when we see this one. So we are waiting, and soon I will test with the thermal scanner because I never used my rig for that power yet. So, but I feel everything is quite cold here. I designed it for 30 amperes maximum. Guys, actually I am a bit surprised about this math, where it, how it calculates 1 hour 40 minutes. We are not far from 11, because 50% of 50 amperes hours is 25 amperes hours, and it's more with the current that it sees, 10 amperes, it's more than this time. So why time remaining is so small? I don't know. I don't see any settings here that probably affecting this. So if you know, experts, please let me know. I'm still not understanding. Probably it says in the user manual, but I am an average user who don't read user manuals, yeah? Let's check with the scanner in Celsius, guys. In the left top corner you can see Celsius. Well, it's okay. It's cold, quite cold. So the virus, the fuse is the most hot point, but not hot at all actually. So everything is quite cold. Yeah. So this rig is quite fine for this load. The episode number 2 about it. So, and here we see, yeah, the picture didn't change, so almost 1 hour. So yeah, I don't know why. I think this is the the current value minus 121, because we see it here with the positive sign. So okay, let's wait. I took a picture before it changed, so you have seen. And yes, 1 hour 40 minutes about, like it was estimated here. We've got 50% of discharge. We've got notification, I don't know when, because this is seen, but not when it happened. But we believe it was at 60, configured 60. But guys, I don't get that point. Why consumed that amount and not half, not 25 from set 50? Maybe I missed some point. That is not clear. But it is true that state of the remaining time is based on the state of the charge. But why 50% is not 25? It's not clear to me. Probably, yeah, I don't know. 50. Yeah, I miss some point. You probably tell me, but doesn't matter because we are continue testing. And what we expect? We expect 10.5, not early than after 5 hours, not early, at least 5 hours. Yeah, C5 50 divided by 5, 10 amps till that voltage according to the standard. Again, watch the first episode. So we are expecting this to get not early than in 5 hours, but it looks like we will get it early. I'm not sure. Let's wait more. Let's do some intermediate conclusions. For example, consider a use case. For example, you have an electric motor and you want to understand for how long this battery will be enough. And let's imagine your motor is 120 watts or the same as consumes 10 amps. And the math is very simple. You know the current 10 amperes, you know the capacity 50 amperes hours. Half of that you cannot discharge less than half, so half of that will be 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, it's very simple. Yeah, but if we I don't know why these things don't match, but if you base your not calculation but observation, okay, calculation on this, then we have seen 1 hour 40 minutes. If we use a poor math, then 2.5 hours. Yeah, like that. And guys, look what we have after almost 4 hours, less than 4. We see state of charge 0, and we didn't consume all 50 amperes hours yet. 15 amperes hours that we set here. I don't know what is the specific of the software of this shunt. If you know, let me know, because I don't understand why it shows 0 here. Yeah, so it counts this consumed AH correctly, because we have now 10 amperes current, and if we multiply it to time, we will see this number. It's quite simple. If we don't have constant 10 amperes, it's changed over the time, we can rely that it will show the right number here. But why it doesn't match with this state of the charge, that I don't know. But we have that value on the shunt, and that value on the load, and that value on the battery, and we are expecting 10.5, and I believe it will withstand 5 hours with that current before we reach this value, and we will get 15 amperes hours within 5 hours. So many numbers and English. Okay, so we are waiting more. Almost 5 hours. Well, actually not almost, 40 minutes till 5 hours. We already see here 10.5. On the terminals we see this voltage on the terminals of the battery. So, and the shunt sees this 10.5. We didn't get 50 amperes hours, and I believe we will not. We will soon reach this point. We've got low voltage alarm that is set to 10.5. That is time. We see this value here, this value here. I will soon disconnect it and quickly put it on charging, and we will do a conclusion. Okay, I logged everything. It is now on the charging. And let's do some conclusions. We've got 44 amperes hours for 4.5 hours. Till that value, we didn't get 50. Well, Mexicans probably a little bit cheating us. Well, probably it will be better later after a few charging discharging cycles. But you have seen things that you haven't seen in the previous 4 episodes. You have seen the test of the brand new battery, and you can see that this approach works. Why it shouldn't? It's according to the standard. Actually, even conditions for the test, temperature conditions, are fulfilled, so maintained. So, well, it gives us less than the capacity mentioned here. So we tested, we've got these numbers. What next? Well, let's first analyze the trends top of this shunt. I demonstrated this in my initial episode number 0. So, and I also told how convenient to have this kind of rig, a kind of cheap test tool, but the test according to the standard, not the cheap junk from AliExpress where you click something and it shows something. That is the true test by the standard. I hope you like it. Yeah, if not yet, please like. We see we began our process at 11 a.m. The next point we're interested about is 50%, because that's what we will need to maintain in real life discharge till this value, not less. And we had 11, almost 12 volts. When we tested old batteries, I think 50 was at about 12 with something. Okay, doesn't matter. So we are continue discharging. We see the proportion, and that is the strange moment when we see 0 for SOC, state of charge, but the voltage is dropping down. Yeah, without any spikes like we noticed on the old batteries. And then we begin the charging process. I wanted to say goodbye, but then later in evening, during the charging of the battery, I noticed some interesting things that I want to record and share with you. Guys, during charging procedure, I noticed quite interesting things that I want to share with you. So we are still in the bulk charge, 7 amperes, at almost 9 p.m. I'm a little bit regret that I charging with this 7 amperes charger instead of 10 amperes, because it would be interesting to see. We consumed 10 amperes and it would be interesting to see charging with the 10 amperes and see if the time will match. If we go here and we'll look at so that's the stage, and we'll look at the history, we see that we are in the bulk for 5.5 hours. We added 38 amperes hours. It would be interesting how long we will stay in the bulk with 10 amperes current. Would it correspond to the same time that we are in that we were in the discharging stage? But now, okay, well, so 5.5 hours, and I remind you that we consumed 44 amperes hours. We will take a look this soon, and this is something that is not very clear for me. Well, obviously it counts in the opposite direction, so here was minus 44. When it adds, it counts in the opposite direction and still show it's like consumed amperes hours. That is not very clear for me why it's done this way. Probably I missed some point again. So here we see that's the same logic. Power with positive value, current with positive value, because we are charging, and that is in the history we can see that the last discharge was minus 44, but and some numbers here I don't think they are important, but the most interesting is here again. So a state of the charge against the voltage, and here some glitches in the interface, but let's forget about them. So guys, we began our, so it was our discharging, then we started to charge this, so somewhere at 3:30 p.m. and now that's the interesting point. We entered to the zero state of charge before we consumed all 15 amperes hours that we set here, and during the charger it remains in zero unless we see 12:33, and it is almost 5 p.m. So I don't understand the logic behind this zero. I don't know. I just show you this information because it's a little quite interesting, I think. Yeah. So the battery was charged, charging procedure completed, and it took 7 hours 46 minutes and added 46 amperes hours. Only bulk and absorptions stages are counted, no, not float, not storage. So we consumed 44 amperes hours as calculated by the shunt, and we added 46 as calculated by the charger. Yeah, so I just give you the information, you can use it as you wish, no any conclusions about these things, because it's not the main subject of this video. So we also can take a look at the shunt, but I think nothing interesting is here. Probably only the last interest we have here is about how the charging completed, and no miracles here. we entered the absorption charge and stage and then float. So we synchronize for 100%, then float and storage mode. So I just give you that information and that's it. Let's wrap things up. All the previous episodes, all 4 of them, led us to this moment, testing a completely new battery. And now you've seen that test in full details. So what did you learn if you were paying attention? First of all, this test actually works. Why wouldn't it? Even the ambient temperature was exactly 25°C, just as the standard requires. And this is the only correct way to measure battery capacity, unless of course you have a problem with following the standard. You also saw that the Mexican guys who made the battery must have eaten too many burritos and shorted us by 6 amp hours. Everything is calm. Yeah, but probably the most important things you could take away from all 5 episodes is this. You can't just take any capacity rating, especially C20, and treat it as 100% usable if your discharge current is completely different. You need to know your actual load, and then you need to know what capacity is rated for this load. Here we are lucky the manufacturer gave us this C5 capacity for 10 amps, but it's not always the case. In my case, I anyway going to set a usable capacity of 50 AH here, because my current is not 10 amps, but it is around 4 to 7 amps. In reality, if you watched all episodes carefully, you probably learned a lot of things more here. Maybe even reconsider the whole approach to using and monitoring batteries, just I did. And all it took was reading the standard for testing battery capacity. I won't repeat what you've learned or what you have seen, but I do want to make few more episodes. I want to test this battery rated 100 AH. This Optima battery I bought 7 or maybe 10 years ago and never used. It will be interesting to see what its real capacity is today, especially since the math is convenient here. 100 AH, C25 amps, the perfect match for my setup. So stay tuned for next part and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you learned from this series and tell me which Chinese battery tester from AliExpress you use. If one tester pop-ups more than others, maybe I've even buy it just for fun to compare with this proper standard-based method. Moi moi, as Finns say.